Welcome to the AI-assisted organization podcast, hosted by myself, Piers and my co-host and co-founder of Implement AI, Dr. Aalok Shukla. Hello, Aalok.
Hey, Piers, how are you?
We're hoping the Wi-Fi holds up here. I'm in Kyoto, so I was complaining about the British internet compared to the speed of the connections on the bullet trains here. We came out of Tokyo, so we had a great time here, but hopefully it holds up.
Well,
You've been here, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Japan's great.
Yeah, no, it is. It's my first trip actually. So we're going to be covering. We did a podcast last week. It was a little bit different, where the content really was one of the sessions that we did. So we're kind of going back to the usual format here. So today we're going to cover there's an AI for business, so some AI news. We try and keep it to AI news that's relevant to business. There's some things that are a bit more high level as usual because they're interesting and they show the direction of travel. And then we're going to give you some updates on what we're doing. And then we're going to have a theme, which is use cases. So what we found is that, and with some research there from Stanford and McKinsey and various other places, talking about how it's really important to start implementing AI and thinking about it in your organization. But it's not that easy to do it because there's a process and some work that's involved. And so we're going to talk about that. And what we found is that people want to talk about the reality, the use cases. How do you create an ROI from this quickly to make money, but also to bring the rest of your stakeholders in your organization with you, from employees to investors, whoever that might be. That's what we're going to cover today. So in terms of AI for business news, for our news, actually, we've been doing a couple of events. We did an event in the Shard just before I left, which was really on the financial services sector. We've seen quite a few clients in that sector as well. Then I jetted off to Liverpool to do BizX, which was a huge, massive event, actually, focused on small and medium-sized businesses. And my keynotes were about business growth, but of course about artificial intelligence and how you implement that in an organization. So we got some great feedback from that. And we're talking to quite a few businesses from those events. So we're going to be doing some more. I'm doing one in the legal sector, which we'll be talking about a little bit more. It's quite a big legal event up in the Northwest. We think that, law firms is a huge opportunity and some huge potential risks for that sector as well, which hopefully we can help our clients with. Anything to add, Aalok?
No, that makes sense. Both those events were very good. I saw your keynote it looks very good on social media with the stage at BizX, quite impressive. And at the same time, yeah, it was a great meeting in the Shard, London last week with the financial services sector, like some really forward-thinking people looking at different options.
So we do a lot of kind of online events, and you can see them in our resource center. If you watch on YouTube, there's a link. If not, go to our website, click on resource center. You can sign up there and get access. And we're uploading lots of our kind of workshops in there. We're also creating a labs area where you're going to be able to go in there and sort of interact with some of our AI agents as well, which is going to be quite helpful. So let's get on to the news. So I think we've quite a bit of news in the last probably 2 weeks now because we did the different format last week. But I think some really big news, and we're using it more often, are the avatars. So you've got two things that are coming together here. One is voice. So you're seeing the AI voice. We talked about that quite a bit. Something we're kind of building our own, let's call it a center of excellence around voice in Implement AI. And my recent posts and blogs about the future of call centers. But actually it's more than that, because with voice, the voice is getting better, but the avatars are getting better as well. So when you put these two things together, you have something really quite powerful. And there's another arms race going on. There's, HeyGen, Synthesia, and Synthesia have just announced in the last few days actually, depending when this goes out, a new version of their product where they're going to have avatars that have improved emotional expressions. So you can have a serious kind of tone. It's more tone and expressions on their face. You can have a serious tone, a happy kind of positive tone, and one which is a bit more sort of dour and downbeat as well. And that's quite important because when you use avatars, if you have done, and we're going to be using them for some of our marketing quite soon, they can be quite sort of, I don't know how to describe it a lot. They're the same, quite flat. And now you're getting more that sort of human tone interaction, the facial expressions. So in a way, you're seeing this more in voice. And I know that OpenAI, you probably read, have stalled their deployment of voice engine because it's so good. But the face wasn't as good as the voice. And now they're leveling up, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I also saw like this Microsoft one which they released where they can take a still image of the person and you can create like the avatar from that still image of the person and with their voice and everything like that. If you've got like an audio clip, so the technology is very powerful, and I've even seen versions where you can almost do a real-time re-avatar where it could be a different face or a different person but with your expression. So this technology is getting very, very powerful now, basically. So yeah.
I think what you're seeing as well is we'll talk about in a moment is that Adobe, they're using things like GANs. So this is the ability to create a static image. Because the problem with avatars is it started off being, to get a really good one, you had to turn up at a studio and be almost like 3D imaged. Whereas now they can take a picture of you and the AI can kind of fill in the 3D
Yes.
gaps in terms of making you 3D, and the GANs can do that as well. So moving on to Adobe. So Adobe is one of those companies that we often talk about in the news section. Not one that's always sort of high up in the sort of AI stakes, but a massively important user base. Fantastic applications as well, which I use all the time, Photoshop, especially Premiere Pro in the past. And they've now launched something which is a new generation model called Video Giga GAN. So there's a clue in the name. So what they're doing here is allowing you to sort of upscale images. So you can take an image, quite grainy one. I saw one which was like a sparkler. It was quite low res, lots of sort of drag and sort of the image wasn't clear at all. And now you can upscale them by 8 times. So they become crystal clear, almost like 4K. So again, if you're in business, this is quite important because we all use images and videos, and quite often they're not quite as good as you'd like them to be. And this means that you can now upscale almost any video image, something which is usable in almost any context.
No, totally.
And then on Adobe, let's carry on Adobe. So Adobe, if you use Adobe, or if you don't, maybe your designers do, these are some incredibly powerful tools. And you'll see now, you've probably heard of Photoshop, there are things like Canva, which is more sort of web-based version of it, but the incredibly powerful tool of Photoshop is being sort of AI-ified. It's getting more AI application, more AI-driven capability all the time. So they've now launched, if you look at this, so that you can now, the issue with images is clearly, you want to have a reference image, like a brand, a way you do things, where your images look, or even people, backgrounds, colors, a brand guide, and you want to be consistent. And it's been very hard to be consistent with AI because every time an AI creates an image, or anything actually, it creates a completely new one. And that's why AI video has that kind of flickering effect, because although it's trying to be similar, every image is completely different. So what they're launching now within Photoshop are reference image tool. So this allows you to upload an image and the AI then use that to inspire its next output. So although you might have a different prompt, the image is going to look similar or similar to the previous one in ways you wanted to make it sort of consistent with your brand. You can generate background. So often now you might have an image, the background's not quite right. You can cut out the background, create a mask, cut out the background, and basically prompt a new one, which is quite bonkers, especially when you think about backgrounds where you might have to, is it a shot of a person with a field behind it, or the mountains? So how is it going to match it up so it looks realistic? So that's quite a powerful tool as well. Enhancing detail, we've talked about that in the Adobe GAN beforehand. So again, having low res images, old image, rubbish images you want to use but never been able to use before, now you can kind of upscale them. Generating similar images and generating images which again sort of match an image you've already created or once already using with your brand, and loads of new adjustment tools. So you're seeing that, that I always say that I think in pictures, I wave my hands around a lot, but I can't draw to save my life. And I find these tools amazing. If you look at a lot of my kind of posts and images I use, they're all generated by AI. And I think it makes everyone who needs to be, who wants to be, a creative. How creative are you, Aalok?
So
draw?
I'm not good at drawing, but I can totally see the applications of all these image editing and everything. As an example, like my parents had recently had an estate agent around their house because they're putting their house in the market, and they took lots of photos, different things, and then the person had to come back because there were some issues with some of the photos. But you can clearly see that, like, in terms of like setting out like how the house could look, even to show what like different the house could look for different people and things like this. These AI image tools like help sell properties, visualize new interiors. Everything can be much, much more efficient, even like removing background objects and everything like this. So I think the faster and easier these are to use, it could really have like a big impact, which can meaningfully drive ROI for any place which is trying to sell things from a photo, basically, isn't it? Right. So
Yeah, and there's no business that isn't using imagery in some way. So these
Yeah.
tools, whether you're using them yourself or your designers are, I mean, the thing to watch out for is, and we had an example, didn't we? Look, I mentioned it before, where I had a designer where we talked about I wanted the image change, and they said, "Oh,
Yes.
it's going to be a lot of work. That's going to be a day's work." I think within 3 minutes, I sent it back, having made the change that I wanted. I thought I'll try and do it with Photoshop or generative AI, and it just did it absolutely perfectly. So again, we always say that when you're paying for work and you're paying for or by the hour or for productivity or efficiency, you need to be careful now that someone's not spending 3 minutes doing what they used to take them 3 days and then billing you for 3 days. So something to think about there in terms of making sure that you're getting value for money. Another one, moving on, Moderna. This is the big biotech company, and again, this is not really about biotech, but they created one of the COVID vaccines. But the interesting news is that their entire team, especially their legal team, they've been using this is ChatGPT Enterprise. So you're not going to access that unless you're a very large organization, but they've been using ChatGPT effectively within their legal team, and they've seen an enormous difference in terms of quality, output, and they've also seen that the workforce itself wants to and is adopting these ChatGPT. But also interesting, this is an interesting point, is creating their own GPTs. So I'm currently in Japan. I called it the Japan GPT. So lots of context, lots of prompts about what I want to do and experience and where I want to go and how I want it to interact with me and translate things. And it works perfectly well. And you're seeing the organization, although I don't think GPTs are going to be the future around for long, they'll evolve. But individuals and organizations are using GPTs to make themselves more effective, more efficient, and more productive.
Yeah, I saw examples of, like, they have contract review ones, they have summarization ones, they have different things in certain parts of research and things like this. So I think the whole point of, like, having specified or specific AI workflows or tools or customizations for within your business is something we've talked about all the time. And obviously, if you're an enterprise and you're using them, the OpenAI GPTs, that's great. But if you're a smaller business as well, there's different ways to get your own customized versions and tools and things like this, which will work just on your data within your business, because that's the whole point, right? Giving your team those specific customized tools which can help you guys do what you want to do.
It's a point we always say. We've got we've seen one of our presentations. We have this sort of a chart showing how you're going to move from using generalist open GPTs on the internet, Bing, whatever it might be, or called Copilot now, to more specialist ones, maybe GPT, maybe something where you've used custom prompting or Chat GPT Plus, to much more specialized, even fine-tuned models down the line, because that's how you differentiate. So it's very interesting to see very large companies adopting this, because if they're willing to adopt it, it means there's real value there. Otherwise, they would not do it. And it means that the same value can be accessed by a company of almost any size now as well. So moving on. So Aalok and I read lots of books about AI. One of the books I read recently is The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleyman. He was the founder of DeepMind, which was acquired by Google, became Google DeepMind. He then left, set up Inflection, which had their it was called Pi. It was their kind of application, like a more EQ rather than IQ focused LLM. He's now, well, kind of an acqui-hire. Microsoft kind of did a deal with him. So he's now running Microsoft AI, a bit like their version of Google DeepMind in a way. But the interesting point is, if you're interested in AI, people often will say things to you about, well, what is it, the future? How's it going to impact the business and myself and the economy and society? And you need answers. You need a perspective, really, if you want to be an AI advocate. And we're actually writing a white paper on that. I'm just going through at the moment, which will be launching quite soon. And he has, this is actually a YouTube video saying that what is AI? And he's saying that, what we're really building here in the longer term is a new species, and which I think is the right way to look at it. So it sounds quite scary in a way, but it's a great video, worth going to watch. Look him up, Mustafa Suleyman, look on YouTube, and that's just one that's worth watching to give you that kind of that context. Have you watched it, Aalok?
I haven't seen that one yet. No, I do look forward to watching that one.
I'll send you the link. Have a look at that one. And then moving on. So OpenAI is now introduced a new enterprise grade features for its API. So most of what we do with our clients, we're using quite often OpenAI. We're using other models as well, and we use the API often. So what you're seeing now is the large language model providers, what they really want is lock-in. They want you to use the API. They want there to be more reasons for you to stay. So they're kind of upgrading the API in many ways and making it more sort of useful, and in this case more secure, which is quite important as well. So they've introduced I call it a private link, so a more secure link into their data centers, multi-factor authentication. So once you're using the API and you're comfortable with security, and and you're happy within your governance model that this is the right model to use, the right partner in many ways, the likelihood of moving willy-nilly, because some LLMs announced that it's slightly better maybe this month, is quite low. So this is good news. You'll see more security being built into it, but also be aware of lock-in. And then the last one, really, well, not last one, the one that's I've been waiting for my rabbit to turn up. I like keeps buying sunglasses and the various other glasses. I'm in Japan with some Ray-Bans with Meta AI. So Meta have now, and I was waiting for this, they've now launched, but I think it's so annoyingly USA and Canada. They've launched the Meta AI in the new Ray-Ban glasses. They've also launched some of the versions of the glasses too. If you haven't used any sort of glasses like this yet, I suggest it. Just have a go. Go, you don't have to buy them, but go in the shop and buy some, and they're going to change quite a lot. But essentially, it's a pair of glasses with some small video cameras in it, and they're fantastic. But what you can do now, though, is, although I can't do it yet, is look at something. So I could be walking through, I don't know, somewhere in Kyoto and say, "What is that? Explain this to me. What am I looking at? What kind of tree is this?" And the AI can understand and respond to you. So this is a huge leap, actually, in the usability of these glasses. Now, like, and I talk about this quite a lot. We think the kind of glasses, eventually the contact lens, is going to be the form factor that wins through. You might still have a phone or whatever you call it, but this ability to look at things and to have that kind of augmented reality with AI behind it, I think, is a huge game changer. And this is another step in that direction.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be exciting when you got like you bring the information layer, that interactivity to the real world, where you can just ask questions, see what you're looking at, and get feedback on things. It'll also transform training if you think about it, like how any of these things work. But yeah, super excited to see how these evolve. And there'll be other brands that will come out.
But you're seeing the extreme cases of the recent. It was I don't think it was actually a real surgery, but a surgeon using the Apple, what they call them. I've gone blank. The Apple Vision Pros, actually, he was using those to do surgery. So even there, you're seeing that they're a big clumsy version of sunglasses. But eventually, this stuff's all going to be. You've already seen some versions of contact lenses coming out. They've got quite a chunky piece of hardware that's stuck on your eyelid, which is not ideal. But that's where we are today. As we always say, AI and this technology today is the worst it's ever going to be. Another report worth looking at, moving on, is the AI Index. This came out of Stanford University's Institute for Human-Centered AI. And basically, they're saying that artificial intelligence has surpassed humans in several performance benchmarks. This is across various fields. And lots of people talk about this. We talk about the Turing, this Turing test, which was kind of surpassed in many, many ways. But people keep moving the goalposts, which is fine. But what you're seeing here is that, Aalok, we often talk about, wins. So images, numbers, sounds. What's W? Mine's gone blank again. So we've got words, images, numbers, sounds, text, audio, essentially. But what you're seeing now is that with AI is beginning to understand and surpass humans in every way. So where it's struggling, the report is saying, is still in sort of reading, comprehension, natural language, absolutely fine, but it's struggling in complex tasks. It's still struggling in mathematics.
Right.
I know, look, we've been building something for a client recently where it involves mathematics, doesn't it? But how do you find it? This is OpenAI.
Yeah. So basically, like it's not reliable for all calculations. So we still use like a hybrid where we'll use the AI to understand elements of it, and then we'll use other solutions to do calculations and do things like this. But I think the key thing is you got to use the right component for the right job, basically, isn't it? Right, when you're trying to like work out these things, essentially. So yeah.
But the LLM providers are very busy working on the maths issue, aren't they? Rather than kind of injecting the solution back into the prompt.
Yeah, and also like when it comes to like complex tasks, the AI is quite a lot of background and different things like this. There's still quite a bit to be edited, like because even for when I'm working with like different voice agents, I can see even like when you're giving a long instruction, background information on the agents and everything, the order you give it in, how you structure it will depend on like how they will answer. So there's still quite a lot of like testing and evolution and iteration required to see like what's the maximum context and skill you can give. So there's still quite a lot of art in working out and calculating those things as well.
So in the wins, then the words, images, numbers, sounds, the numbers are still the weakest point, and this seems to be our experience is the
But you can
same as
solve that in other
what
ways.
the Stanford
But you can
researchers
solve,
say. But
yeah,
you can
but you
always
can
solve
solve
another
that.
way. Let's face it, computers can add up. It's a question of how you integrate that back into the output. And the
Yeah,
last
and which
thing
way you
moving
see it.
on, the last thing which I find quite interesting because I listen to audiobooks quite a lot is that imagine that you can perfect how I read and how my voice sounds, the intonation, everything. Why the hell would an author ever sit down and read out an audiobook now? So HarperCollins, which is now teamed up with 11 Labs, we work with 11 Labs quite close. We use it quite a lot. They've now teamed up with basically to create, this is the non-English, but for now, at least, the non-English versions of audiobooks are going to be read, or they're going to read the text at least, using 11 Labs, which I think is really interesting because it's only, 24 months away, tops, before 11 Labs be able to read an entire book by any author being trained on his voice, and you won't know the difference.
I think they've already got like a sub brand or something which kind of does some of that as well already. But I use like an app, for example, on my phone, which I connected to my Kindle library, and any of my Kindle books I can listen to with an audiobook as well, basically. So this technology makes it much more convenient for any PDFs or any information or any websites. And I think this is great.
So as usual, Alex ahead of the curve. So you're already doing it.
Well, yeah, no,
Wow.
but other people can do this too. There's one called Speechify, which is quite good. You can put any Kindle book into it, or any PDF, and you can listen to it as an audiobook, basically.
And imagine when OpenAI does eventually, which may be after, we'll see, the US election, if they launch voice engine, then that's kind of it, isn't it? Which is a competitor to 11 Labs, isn't it?
Yeah, I think like they're just trying to aggregate as much of the AI spend as possible, isn't it? Right? Like why do you want to use this company LLM and this stuff? They just rather you just spend everything with them, basically, isn't it? Right? Which makes sense
Like
as
we're
well.
saying, yeah. Like earlier, you don't want to be, because the AI is moving very, very quickly. It's very fluid, and they're kind of beating each other slowly over time, or rapidly actually. And it's a question of avoiding lock-in to some extent, but also you want it to be reasonably easy in terms of how you interact with these large language models. But you do want to avoid lock-in because you don't want to be sitting there thinking, well, it's a real pain to change, but this one's now much better, because that interaction with humans makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, and building in a modular way, that's the whole point to do. So you can swap out when something becomes better. I heard recently there was a Chinese model that just came out which beats GPT-4 in different areas, and Facebook's or Meta's new AI, the new Llama is very high performer as well. So you just want to be able to capture the incremental advantages of different platforms when you want to, basically, isn't it?
So that's the news then. So we think that's the big AI business news. Lots of other news about consumer stuff you can go and play with, and we'll talk about the AI of the week a little bit later on. But as always, so we've now talk about implement AI. We've created this new resource center, and we're populating that with information and workshops and content and more white papers. So if you haven't signed up for that, go and have a look. Read our sort of foundational white papers. The one on the AI assisted organization is one talking about the augmented workforce and AI agents. We're adding more quite soon. We're adding more. We've got another. If you access our resource center, we've got a much bigger white paper as well. We've written about how do you actually go about implementing AI, what's the process, and we're writing a new one about AI advocates. So a lot of our clients, they might be the CEO, they might be someone in the IT group or department who want to be the AI advocate in an organization. And the question is, how do you go about doing that? So we're putting all this information, all these workshops, all of our keynotes and content into our resource center. So it's definitely worth signing up to see that. And our training as well. So we're quite a busy training schedule in the Implement AI Training Academy. So if you're interested in AI at all, or Microsoft Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot, how you use it, how do you get value from it, how to extend it. So we've had a great course. That was great feedback on our course. Prompt engineering, AI fundamentals, how do you create content using AI? It's all there, and you can buy packs. And we've also launched probably two podcasts ago now, the AI Foundations approach. So you haven't got to be focused on innovation, R&D. You can be an organization where you just want to do what you do, but better and more efficiently and more effectively, and be more productive. So we can focus on that. And when you're ready, maybe you're ready already, but if you're not ready, the innovation, how do you create a sustainable competitive advantage using AI? That can come later. So we've kind of learned that by working with our clients, so we can approach it in different ways. So go and read up, sign up, and follow our content on LinkedIn as well and Instagram. Whew. So today, Aalok, you're going to lead on this. Let's talk about use case. This is our theme.
Yeah.
Often our clients, we talk about artificial intelligence, and they're like, yeah, that's great, brilliant. I get the white paper, the foundations, brilliant. But what is it going to do for my business? How, when, and how much money is it going to make me or save me? And where do I start? So we've got quite a long list of use cases. We're going to go through and pick a few of them up, aren't we, Aalok?
Yeah, exactly. So if we just like think about it like in a high level way, let's think about like in terms of, by different divisions of like marketing, sales, customer service and support, operations, finance, and data insights, right? So we're just going to, the whole point here is like think about how this list and how some of these elements could be used as use case within your business. So we're going to go through in order, and we'll talk some examples as we go through, but let's go with marketing, for example. So one of the things is personalized AI generated content for improved customer engagement. Now, the way to think about it is like we were talking with one client recently, and one potential client recently, and they have like a very high volume, a very high value service, and they sell to very few customers, and they were looking at like how they could increase the customization of the proposals generated. And the thing is, you could actually create almost very detailed white papers for particular customers, like based on their industry, their sector, their opportunities, and this kind of stuff. So the personalized AI generated content for improved customer engagement could extend to having a way of like creating hyper personalized white papers just for that industry, or proposals in different ways and things like that. So generated content and proposals for customer engagement, that's already something which is working quite nicely. Then you've got the AI assisted content creation for blogs, social media marketing materials. All of this is should be kind of done by everybody, like in terms of like turning longer form videos into short form videos, turning videos into audio clips, turning blogs even into into like short form elements that you want to have in different things. And you can also use, like, for example, we use as part of our content creation, we've got our own knowledge base, which then you could has all of our past podcasts and contents within it, and we use that to create new social media content as well. So there's quite a few ways that you can leverage it in that way. Piers, have you got any thoughts on some of those ones, basically?
Well, and the podcast, we use the podcast, so you might be looking at a very long article, from McKinsey or Stanford Research, and kind of like, well, that's great, it's very interesting, but summarize it for me. And then once I've read that, okay, I get it, it's interesting, let's use it. Then it's kind of like, okay, well, now cut that down into some notes for a podcast, for a business audience, and you get the notes. So it doesn't matter what content you're doing, and it seems like this is really obvious low-hanging fruit, but quite often Aalok and I were in rooms and audiences, it could be 20 people, it could be 1,000 people a week, and when you ask the room who is using this in their business to do this basic stuff, this low-hanging fruit, and I'm telling you now, on average, at maximum 10% put their hand up.
Yeah. And another example is research, right? So getting the right content. So like we've got like an AI research agent system, which will look up, like we want AI for business use cases and news from reputable places, and it will go and search those things and it'll populate the details. So again, using AI to like get you the right research for your content to help you prepare better content. That's another thing to kind of like do in that way. Then there's testing of marketing copy.
And like you said, personalized content. There's no reason now not to create personalized content, from a white paper to a video of you walking and talking, using their company name, their personal name, what information you've got in an avatar which isn't you, it's created on the fly.
Or even for a demo, like for example, like if they wanted this scenario or an example of something, and you can use AI to create a demo, a demonstration of what you wanted to kind of like demonstrate. Then also like testing of marketing copy using different personas. You can, for example, feed in your different customer types, and then you can also then sort of test how certain angles or certain hooks would work on different areas or potentially not. And you can use this for like benchmarking or filtering what would go into your campaign or not, for split testing. Because now with that you can create more content, you can do a lot more split testing. And because ultimately the truth is nobody actually knows what will work. You have to test multiple different options, and then based on which one is working, you need to double down on that one. So now you can actually like create more and have more average examples that you could work through in that way. And then you've also got brand monitoring, reputation management, and then, as Piers mentioned before, video avatars. Following up with a video avatar for, like, for example, hi, you didn't, you requested information on a mortgage, for example, right? Like they say, like, for example, you requested information on a mortgage, and then you get like an example coming straight back saying, hi, I'm Peter, I'm going to call you tomorrow and go through your mortgage options. Here's some different examples. When people contact these companies, they contact like 6 or 7 at the same time. Like, there's a few services which I've been looking at, like mortgages is one thing, another thing was like commercial lawyer for a different thing. When you've got those supplied the fastest, generally you'll engage with the quickest. So there's no reason at all why not to have like something set up to get something at least personalized back, because that's going to make a difference, essentially, isn't it?
So we've got to move on to sales. So sales and marketing are the probably the most common places people sort of, before we get into the real weeds and the detail of their business and their workflows and their processes, this is the place that people tend to start, isn't it?
Exactly. So, for example, with one client, we're discussing what they target specific types of sectors and businesses, and what they want to do is increase their amount of outreach. So with them, working on a system which will then research more businesses in their particular sector and give them all the information about all those people, so then they can outreach in a more effective way, because the AI can also do the basic levels of outreach to begin with, whether it's by email or by phone call. So what this means is you can reach out to a lot more people than you could have done before. And at the same time, let's say you've got customers that are churned, let's say that they've cancelled in the past and you want to try and reactivate them. Again, you can use the AI to like help re-engage and reactivate those. So increasing your amount of contacts per day and scaling the kind of like outreach in that way, that's a big thing, for example, for many businesses, because it does come down to numbers as well. Then you could also use personalized AI outreach to increase revenue. So what that can mean is like when you're doing different calls with clients, you can have a AI tool which is managing and listening to the whole call, but also suggesting to you other questions or identifying other areas within there where you may need to ask them more questions, or even show examples. And it can even help measure how engaged they are or how confident they are in different things. So the kind of tools that you can give for people to manage their sales process and also guide them to a more consistent outreach approach, that's also very, very good. And then you've got sales script generation, optimization, and call analysis. So many people have phone calls for like customer inquiries or for sales calls, and you can analyze all of those ones, let's say from the most successful sales agent versus one of the ones which is maybe a brand new one, someone in training. And what you can then get is you can then see what the difference is, but then also potentially get coaching on what you want to do as well.
Yeah, so what we're talking about there, think about your sales funnel, no matter what you do. There's a use case, something there that AI can enhance or do things you've never been able to do before, like analyze every single phone call that comes in if you record them. And you should record them, by the way. Is that at every stage in your sales funnel, some sales and marketing, AI can enhance it immediately to close a prospect or keep an existing customer, or get them existing customer to spend more.
Exactly. So moving on to customer service and support. So again, having AI-powered agents for personalized 24/7 customer service. This can be by phone. This could also be by email. This could be by WhatsApp. The whole point is then you've got someone that can answer questions in the right way. And this is where you build AI systems on top of each other. So for example, if you've got your own company knowledge base, increasingly we're doing more knowledge base for more companies where it answers everything based on all of your information, all your policies, all the different elements and things within there. Then it means that the agent can provide the support in the right way, and it will never go off script, never go off piece, and it will ask those questions in that right way. Then you've also got, like, for example, if somebody inquired or filled out a form, the AI can contact them straight away to outreach and make sure that more people are contacted. So that then also means you can do automated customer sentiment analysis and churn risk prediction. What does that mean? You can see how interested someone is. I listen to a lot of AI phone calls, and like you can see like different people react in different ways, and they're more engaging or less engaging. So what this can do is it can identify the warmest leads for your team to then follow up on those ones, and the other ones that you don't need to bother with doing those in that same way. Same thing for like complaint response drafting, multilingual support, all that can be done as well. And then you've also got, the knowledge base that we just talked about, and how that can be a tool for your internal team to answer questions better. But you can also potentially externalize that and have it in a very simple way so that people can get the actual straight answers in the way that you want them to get it straight away.
Yeah, you're right. So what I would say, think about is building layers. So you've got a knowledge base, for example, which you can talk to, you can chat to it, but then you can build a voice interface above that as well. And I think what's going away are forms, first name, last name, email, company name. Now you can have a conversation in chat or in voice and extract the exact detail you want for your CRM, but also capture all the other important unstructured information about that prospect or that customer. So customer service is I think after sales and marketing is where, probably even before sales and marketing in some cases, you're going to see the most change. You're seeing things like, drive-throughs now, like Wendy's in the US. Everyone, all the order taking is done by AIs. So customer service will become better, faster, cheaper, more effective, and you provide a better service to customers using artificial intelligence. And like we said earlier
Yeah.
in the pod, as avatars and voices get better, you won't notice it's not a human.
I would also add customer success within that group as well. So we're talking with someone else where they need the customer to fill out, like, they do use forms for like some kind of like complex applications, but they want to be able to like help guide and nudge the person in the right way to be able to do those or complete those, or how once they've got their solution, how to be guided afterwards. So I think that customer success, service and support, absolutely. The more friction you can remove, the easier it is to deal with. And if your form is limited to like, your name and number, and then straight away you can just have someone talk through things, because I just find it easier to talk through things than most people, than writing complex emails back and forth and things like this, and you don't know when they're going to reply. At least with this way, you're talking, you're going to get that reply much quicker basically. So I much prefer that. Moving into operations, so again, you can have like inventory management, and you can have some procurement optimization. So this is quite a no-brainer. Many people have, like, for example, they want to order things when the prices are lower, and they want to actually make sure that they've got maybe a monitor going on to like spot the price in different places. So you can have an AI system set up to monitor the prices of particular products. It could even be for competitors, or it could also be for things that you want to buy. And what that can help you do is then make sure that you're alerted at the right time when there are deals available. Data entry and document analysis can be done in an automatic way, where you can make sure that the document covers all the different elements you need to have, or anything that's within there can be analyzed and sent for a follow-up, or any details like that. That can help in a very, very strong way. Equipment, you can have things which are being monitored and maintained in the way that, like, when's the next time that things need to be done from either a regulatory perspective or for a maintenance perspective. You can check all those different things. And then again, you can have like, AI-based, web monitoring of, either competitors, new tenders, opportunities. Like, we've got people that are trying to get different bids, so they want to bid on different projects. So you can use AI to potentially keep a track of like where the new bid opportunities are, and then your team can then be able to like fill those out quicker by leveraging a knowledge base as well. So it becomes layers and layers, and it's just about identifying, first of all, what's taking the most time, and how can you AI assist that? And really what you always want to think about, and I know we're going through a long list, but you always want to think about, if I could do X and my competitors can't do X, what will give me a competitive advantage? What will help me, drive revenue faster, reduce cost in a meaningful way? That's the way to think about these things, basically.
Yeah, there's basically like a lot of the software you already use, like software as a service, they're going to embed more AI into it. So all your admin, your tasks, your policies, your holiday, all this stuff, and what we're talking about here really are more specific use cases, which are over and above the sort of average, because everybody eventually is going to have the basic AI, be it built into a SaaS or a basic product. And as Aalok always says, that's like spell check. So these are use cases where we're working with clients. These are real ones, and we've seen them make a massive difference as well. So operations, if you want to grow a business, I talk about this quite a lot in my keynotes. You can't grow a business until the back end is ready, because the front end will detach and you'll never be able to put the two together again. What AI does is simplify that, make it more effective, and enable you to grow faster and sooner as well, because you can implement more a lot quicker. So operations, again, probably slightly after the first two we've talked about, but absolutely key. Automate the mundane.
Exactly. And then if you think about like finance, the next sector, like, many people might have accounts receivable, they need to follow up in collection. Obviously, like, that makes a big difference. Like, how soon you can get paid makes a big difference to your business cash flow. So you could have AI agents which could follow up by email and also by phone call, potentially by, WhatsApp. So people can be engaged in a much more proactive way. And at the same time, you can also find out, when people are likely to follow up. I think the key thing is, like, the more proactive you are and the stronger your systems are, the faster you'll get paid, basically. I think that's the key thing you have to think about in that regard. And then you can also use, AI to do different financial analysis based on like, cash flow forecasting, or based on different cost structure. You can analyze different elements within your business. And you can also then, automate more things to make sure that, you've got like, keeping all the invoices correctly and automating all those different elements and things like that.
And we'll come on to it next, data insight. So it's inextricably linked with finance, but you're going to be able to see in finance the unknown unknowns, things that you couldn't see before, and those insights, things you can react to, be it your way you run your company, the finances, maybe it's your credit control, maybe it's your debtors, your creditors, but that makes a big difference to your cash flow and potentially even how you fund your business.
Exactly. And I think with data insights, like you said, essentially, like the whole point is many people have lots of data, but they don't know how to access it. They don't know how to get unknown unknowns or insights from it. So having an AI system where you can chat to your data and actually like it can visualize and plot graphs for you in a straightforward way. Maybe it can even monitor for certain types of exceptions. Like for example, if more than this much time between a customer's orders, flag it to you like in this way. Or if, for example, this shop is not performing in the same way, highlight this in the same way. Like all these different things can be done where you can basically use natural language to ask simple questions in English, and then the AI can analyze a SQL database or a complex database in different ways and show it to you in a very simple way. And then AI powered customer insights for product innovation, so identifying conversations with like lots of different conversations and lots of customers you had, and identifying different insights and opportunities that may not have been immediately obvious essentially as well.
And I think if you've got an organization of any scale at all, really, this is where no matter what we do with our client, there's always an element of looking at the data, where it is, how you access it, how it can be used, what insights can be extracted from it, and how value can be created from data in ways in which you probably never even thought of. The data is key, isn't it, to any AI implementation process?
Exactly.
Well, that was quite a list, right? So we don't want to go on anymore because you'll there's enough there to think about. But what we want to do really is that list of things that we've actually been working on, not the kind of the sort of run of the mill. So if you go through that list again or listen to it again, just think about your organization. Where can you actually add value? So moving on to AI of the week. I don't know if you've got another one, but I've been using ClipDrop. I thought ClipDrop was Stability AI, but it seems to be Jasper now. And this is to go to ClipDrop, just Google it essentially. And when we're talking about sales and marketing, how we're talking about Adobe recently and how you use AI in creating images and tweaking things. But this is things like cleaning up images, image upscalers, relighting images, moving backgrounds, a stable doodle where you can draw a doodle, it'll create an image out of it, sky replacers, swapping images, SDXL turbo, stable diffusions in there as well, and everything that does. So this is a fantastic place. It's not really a tool. There are lots of tools, but it's worth, if you haven't done this yet, it's going talking to anyone in sales, marketing, especially in marketing as well, and some cases not so much operations, but sales and marketing at least, and go and use these tools and just play with them, and you'll see the power of how you can unlock creativity in organization in ways in which you couldn't do before. And what that means is quite often is that you don't need to pay for it because it's something that was a skill. It was a skill that you typically paid for externally. Whereas now you or people in the organization, or even the marketing department, with a bit of training, can actually use these tools to get anything almost out of their head. Very powerful and can save you a huge amount of money. So if you haven't used it yet, go and have a play around with ClipDrop. Right, that's gone on for quite a long today. We're up to nearly 3/4 of an hour. Quite a long one for us. So I'm going to chill out now in Kyoto here. But again, as we always say, sign up for our resource center. Go and look at our resources, workshops, white papers. Everything we do is being uploaded into there. If you haven't yet already. Go and listen to the use case list again and share that internally if people are sort of thinking about, well, how do we start implementing AI? What do we do? What does it mean? What are the use cases? There are some good examples there as well. Please follow the pod. Please like, subscribe to our channels. Please give us a sort of a, if you watch this on Apple or listen on Apple, go and give us a testimonial or review. We'll like those. They help quite a lot. And anything else, Aalok, really?
No, that's it basically.
So we've got our events. Look out for our events. Look out for us uploading the videos of our recent events as well. We've got things based in legal. We've got financial services. There are more and more of those things. We're getting invited to go and talk about AI in more places. So that's good news. And once again, thank you for listening or watching the pod. And we will see you again similar time, if you can get there, depending where we are in the world, next week. Thanks again. This is Piers and Aalok, the AI Assisted Organization podcast. We'll see you soon.